What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another episode of the Forgotten Race Review. Today, at the request of Mr. Andrew Davis, we're cracking open the Advanced Race Guide, as well as City in the Deep from the Ruins of Aslant Adventure Path, and we're going to talk about the Merfolk. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, remember, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Today, this episode of the Forgotten Race Review was brought to you in part by Tim Bartlett. Thanks so much for your help, my friend. Now, let's dive in. So, in folklore, a mermaid is an aquatic creature with the head and upper body of a female, male, of course, in the case of the merman, human, and the tail of a fish. Mermaids appear in the folklore of many cultures worldwide, including the Near East, Europe, Asia, and Africa. The first stories appeared in ancient Assyria, in which the goddess Atargatis transformed herself into a mermaid out of shame because she accidentally killed her human lover. Mermaids are sometimes associated with perilous events like floods and storms and shipwrecks and things. They can often be very benevolent things, bestowing boons or just outright falling in love with humans. The mermaid legend is so prolific that there are real-life, quote-unquote, historical, quote-unquote, accounts of mermaids. During his exploration of the Caribbean, Christopher Columbus, possibly inspired by manatees and similar aquatic mammals, definitely reported in his log that mermaids were hanging out down here. And of course, since there's no evidence that mermaids exist outside folklore, it's all he said, she said. But reports of mermaid sightings continue to the present day, including 21st century examples from Israel and Zimbabwe. In Pathfinder, it's more or less the same thing. Merfolk have the upper bodies of humanoids and the lower bodies of fish. Their skin tone ranges from deep mahogany to paler brown, deep gold, and pearly white. Merfolk skin tends to glimmer and glisten when light catches subtle patches of scales, and their hair can be any shade and is usually worn long and straight. Lots of variety exists among Pathfinder's merfolk tales as well. Though surface artists commonly portray merfolk with a single tapered tail ending in a forked caudal fin, their tail fins can take the shape of a crescent moon, end in sharp points, or even be squared off at the end. These tail shapes usually run along family lines and can identify members of a specific group or region. Other tail fin styles include a single arrowhead-shaped fin, a forked but uneven fin with one prong longer than the other, and rounded tail fins that resemble flower petals. On occasion, merfolk have pelvic and dorsal fins along the lengths of their tails as well. These tails are iridescent and come in many color combinations, most commonly greens and blues, though chartreuse, indigo, and violet, as well as shades of coral, gold, and peach, have been seen. Merfolk babies are smaller than humans at birth. After a gestation period of about 180 days, the babies are born only 6 inches long, but they are born knowing how to swim. As the merfolk ages, its hair turns silver or white, and they don't naturally shed their scales, but the intensity of their pigment changes with the health and age of the individual. Research does suggest that Pathfinder's merfolk are native to Galarian, and multiple cultures have legends of land dwellers transformed into the first merfolk by the gods, usually by Gazra themselves taking pity on a group of humans about to die to a shipwreck. Snap of the fingers, the passengers are transformed into the first merfolk who build their new homes under the sea. The merfolk amongst their own kind are usually friendly and talkative, willing to work for the good of the community, sharing songs and stories, helping out in times of trouble. But among strangers, merfolk become closed-mouthed and suspicious. They avoid ethical and philosophical debates, and they value the independence and safety of their communities above all. Those of us on the surface who are fortunate enough to see a merfolk settlement, which are known as shoals, would see elegant structures of coral and stone rising from plains and ridges beneath the ocean's surface. Shoals are often situated in waters of sufficient depth for security, but not so deep that the merfolk can't quickly swim to the surface and enjoy the bright glow of the upper world and dive back beneath the waves at the sight of a ship. Now, down to the stats. A merfolk does come of age at 15 years. Males range in height anywhere from 6 foot tall to 7'6", including that monster tail, with females coming in just 2 inches shorter. Males weigh anywhere from 155 to 245 pounds. Females coming in, again, just around on average 10 pounds less. The maximum age for a merfolk is 70 plus 2d20 years. So basically just a human with a giant tail. Now, as far as that character sheet goes, the merfolk gets a +2 to its dexterity, a +2 to its constitution, and a +2 to its charisma. They're medium humanoids with the aquatic subtype, with a swim speed of 50 feet, but a base speed of 1 square, 5 feet. A merfolk in heavy armor is... you're not getting anywhere on land. Anywho, on the subject of armor, the merfolk does have a +2 natural armor bonus, low light vision, and they're amphibious, which means that a merfolk can breathe water as easily as it breathes air, but it also, and this weighs in on the speed, has no legs, but you can't trip it. Now, playing a merfolk can be a little difficult, and I imagine that's why they get a lot of nice ability score buffs, because on land, your move speed is a square. In combat, that means you're not getting anywhere fast, and God forbid you have to run from something and there's no water. Yeah, no, the adage where you don't have to outrun the dire bear, just the dwarf in plate mail, that's out the window. Now you just outrun the fish dude. Fortunately, a couple of alternate race traits exist that help us alleviate this. First off, secret magic, which chops your merfolk's swim speed down to 40 feet, but it adds +1 to the DC of any enchantment spell your merfolk happens to cast, and if you have a charisma score of 13 or higher, certainly doable with a +2, you can cast Speak with Animals, aquatic at will, or once a day, more importantly here, Fins to Feet. That spell lasts 1 hour per level, and it grabs you a speed of 30 feet. Also, you know, solving that problem while not having to rely on like playing a druid or something that would turn into a bird or a bear or a bird bear, and not really getting that race's flavor in a world where most of the campaign probably takes place on the surface. On the other side of that, the Strong Tail alternate racial trait will cut your swim speed down to 30, but your land speed will go up to 15, so you're as fast as the Oread in heavy armor, which is still ridiculously slow. I might just give away my armor racial trait and have the ability to cast Fins to Feet, unless I was planning on playing a druid, shaman, sorcerer, wizard, or witch with my merfolk, which certainly is possible. Now, on the other side of that, if you're playing, I know I say it a million times when we talk about the aquatic games, but if you're playing Skull and Shackles, if you're playing Ruins of Aslant, if you're playing an adventure path where there's going to be a lot of, water, the merfolk can really shine. To be honest with you, that's almost like playing something like a Kasafa in a normal game and having those 4 attacks. You are the best equipped to fight in the water for just a million reasons. A speed of 10 squares means you are booking it in combat. And you get a +8 racial bonus on swim checks if, oops, there's a water elemental that's turned into a gigantic whirlpool and we're all going to die horribly. Also, you can breathe underwater. A lot of things you fight will not be able to do so. So something like a barbarian with the rage power that lets you reduce the amount of rounds that something can hold its breath equal to your con means you're drowning people real quick, or if nothing else, sunder whatever it is that's giving them the ability to breathe where you're from. Though, really, honestly, with that charisma, you might be able to talk an NPC into just carrying you. It's kind of like how sometimes we'll make that papoose for the halfling who's going to ride around and crossbow from our chests and safety. This time, not so much. This time, you just wrap your tail around somebody's waist and off you go. Probably crossbowing people, but whatever. If I were to GM for Merfolk, though, really, there's been talk of aquatic games a lot lately. My patrons and I talk about Skull and Shackles just too much. But there's also a lot to be said about games that exist under the sea. That is a place that's just as alien, at least on planet Earth, as, space is. Things exist down there that we've only ever heard of, only barely seen. Almost all of the planet that's left unexplored is down there, and that opens up all the GM power that I think any GM ever needs for that exploration game. But that's all we have for today. What do you guys think about the Merfolk? Have you played one? Have you GM'd for one? would you possibly allow your Merfolk to have a hippocampus with a really fast move speed or something, just to make them valid with the rest of the humans and dwarves and things in a given adventure group? Let me know. Let's brew up how to help all the Merfolk move around on the surface, because that +2 Dex Con Cha just screams, build with me, I am powerful. But that's all we have for today. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, jam that like and subscribe button. The next episode of the Forgotten Race Review is coming to us from Andrew Davis as well. We're going to break out John Brazier Enterprises, and we're going to talk about the Half Fairy Dragon. We'll see you then.